Good evening, and welcome to the November 5th, 2014 legislative session of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Garrity?
Present.
Trustee Codman?
Present.
Trustee Quezada?
Present.
Trustee DiRaio?
Present.
And Mayor Hanauer.
Present.
We have this evening a special presentation from Marlene Marinelli. Mayor?
Thank you. Marlene, why don't you come up and join me? Well, this is one of those wonderful moments that I get to do only from time to time, and I'm very pleased to be able to do this again tonight and for you. For those of you who don't know, and it's probably most of those people out there who don't know Marlene, she is a pharmacist at Walgreens, and she saved the life by recognizing the symptoms of a massive coronary. She saved the life of Jim Druhan, the senior, for which we are very grateful. So as we do on these occasions, we have a proclamation in your honor. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining recognizes individuals and organizations that have shown exemplary commitment and dedication to the community and acknowledge outstanding service that contributes to the quality of life in Ossining. And whereas Marlene Marinelli is such an individual, as a professional in our community, she's dedicated her commitment and desire to go above and beyond when carrying out her duties. And whereas Marlene Marinelli contributes enormously to the quality of life for the people of the Village of Ossining, especially one person of the Village of Ossining, and as a community, we are grateful. Now, therefore, I, William R. Hanauer, Mayor of the Village of Ossining, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, residents, and merchants of the village, do hereby express our appreciation to Marlene Marinelli and proclaim Thursday, November 6th, 2014, as Marlene Marinelli Day in the Village of Ossining, and urge all of our residents and merchants to join us in honoring her. You're welcome.
I got very nervous, so I had to write it down.
You want me to hold this for you?
I'm very honored and humble on receiving this award. I want to thank the Drohan family for acknowledging me. I want to thank all my friends, family, and coworkers for being a part of my life and for sharing this recognition with me. August 23rd, 2014 was an important day. Not only was your life changed, so was mine. I realized that day that a small action such as listening can impact someone forever. I listened to you tell me your symptoms, but you listened to me and took my advice. I took an oath in pharmacy school to be professional and use my judgment. I take that oath very seriously, but I add my own version to it. When someone comes to me for advice, I always think to myself, how would I treat a family member in this situation? Mr. Drohan, thank you again for trusting me to help you.
It was really beautiful. Thank you very much, Marlene.
We'll move on to the 2015 budget submission by Village Manager Richard Lyons.
Thank you. Thank you. This evening, I'm presenting the tentative budget for the Village of Ossining for the calendar year 2015, and I have a statement I'd like to share with the Board of Trustees as well as with the public. I'm pleased to present the Village Board with the Village of Ossining tentative budget for 2015. This budget represents much effort on the part of all Village of Ossining managers and department heads and the village budget team, which includes Treasurer Tom Warren and Deputy Treasurer Dale Ferreira. The village manager is charged by the Village of Ossining Charter with the responsibility of preparing the tentative budget for the village, which is required to be filed on or before the first regular meeting of the Board of Trustees in November. A public hearing on the tentative budget will be held on November 19th, at which time the public will have an opportunity to be heard. The Board of Trustees will adopt the final budget for 2015 on December 3rd. In the interim, the Board will have the opportunity for extensive review of the submissions contained in the tentative budget and to arrive at the final budget for the upcoming year, which best matches the needs and resources of the community. In preparing the 2015 budget, I had reminded all department heads of the requirements and impacts of the state-mandated cap on tax levy increases so that they could be aware of this limitation in the formulation of their budget requests. For 2015, what is referred to as the 2% tax cap was actually adjusted downward by the cost of living to 1.56%. Because of the recent building activity in the village and the concomitant growth of accessibles, state law allows the village what they call a growth factor of 0.46% to arrive at the permitted tax levy increase of 2.02%. Several items of expense remain challenging and are worthy of note. Healthcare remains the budget item of greatest concern. The 2015 budget provides for healthcare premiums of $6,145,501, an increase of $593,510 from 2014, and a cumulative increase of over $2 million, or 50% from just 4 years ago. Since the village is substantially self-insured, any increase in health care costs has a direct impact on the budget. On the positive side, the negotiated employee health care contributions is projected to result in payments from employees towards health care in 2015 of $217,325, and all new employees are contributed as agreed upon their employment. In 2014, the village experienced significant increases in energy and electricity expenses. These were the result of several factors, including a more severe winter in 2013-14 and an increase in rates established by the New York Power Authority, which provides electricity to the village. In 2015, heat is budgeted as $297,300, a 24% increase from 2014, and $920,800 is being budgeted for electricity, compared to $787,950 in 2014. In 2015, in accordance with the directive of the Board of Trustees, the village will take the next steps towards a program of replacement of much of the street lighting with LED lighting, which should have a positive effect on lighting expense, and the village will undertake energy audits of municipal facilities to identify additional areas for energy savings. For 2015, for the first time in many years, the payments to the New York State retirement system for village employees will not increase, but as a result of several factors will, for the first time in recent memory, show a small decrease. However, the cumulative impact of many years of increases have resulted in a major sustained impact on the annual budget. For fiscal year 2015, the village is budgeting $3.8 million for New York State retirement, an approximate 100% increase from the $1.9 million budgeted in 2010. On the income side, several sources of revenue have shown encouraging growth. Among departmental revenues which have shown significant increases are those generated by the recreation and building departments. Less modest increases have been recorded in those sums received for mortgage tax, budgeted at $200,000, still off from the 2006 high of $375,000, and sales tax at $3,625,000, having bounced back from the lows of the Great Recession. Fines and forfeitures received by the village from court proceedings, including building and other local code and parking violations, continue to lag at a budgeted $420,000, off from only 2 years ago when they were budgeted at $565,000. The village 2014 assessment roll used in the establishment of the 2015 tax roll for tax collections, as discussed above, has shown modest growth of $201,477, or 0.2% greater than the 2013 roll, contrasted to several years of flat or reduced assessments, primarily as a result of tax assessment challenges. The increase in tax assessment both helps to spread the tax burden and provides for a small adjustment to the tax cap calculation as described above. This year, in addition to holding the line on expense, we approached all capital projects and expenditures on the basis of demonstrated need. While some capital projects are mandated and essentially beyond local control, such as the state-required Kilbrook Sewer Project just being completed and the Indian Brook Dam Project, other capital expenditures, even while important, leave some discretion for implementation. For 2015, many of the requested projects have not been incorporated, while some which have been prioritized as crucial have been included. Among the capital projects proposed for 2015 are the re-roofing of the Rodriguez Operations Center and the formalization of the Spring Street two-way conversion, as well as regular annual requests for vehicle and equipment replacement. During 2014, the village continued its close collaboration with the town of Ossining, and from that relationship has emerged the recent intermunicipal agreement, which will see the village of Ossining providing police services to the unconsolidated area of the town. Not only does this represent a historic agreement of which both communities can be justifiably proud, it will also result in significant cost savings and an economy of scale that will benefit both village and town. In addition, such agreements have the potential of achieving recognition at the state level as furthering the economic objectives and goals of the state tax levy enactments. Additional agreements and refinements of existing agreements, such as the Recreation IMA, will also be of mutual benefit to both communities. Late last week, the village administration and finance staff had its annual telephone conference with Moody's Investment Services in preparation for the 2014 bond sale. The good news is that Moody's, in recognition of the stewardship and soundness of village finances, has maintained the village's high AA2 bond rating. For the taxpayer, this translates into lower cost of borrowing for long-term projects and ultimately a lower cost of business and taxpayer expense. The 2015 tentative budget represents my fifth budget submission to the village board. My first budget presentation in October 2010 followed what were most certainly among the most difficult economic times since the Great Depression. The challenging economy continues today at a different level. Notwithstanding, the village of Ossining, through cautious and calculated governance and fiscal restraint, has maintained and improved upon its financial and area-wide standing, even while others have chosen a different path. Realizing mandated cost reductions through attrition and not through termination of employment, the village has maintained essential services and its commitment to its dedicated staff. One result has been that the village has been able to maximize its resources to enable projects that would otherwise not be possible, such as completing the walking gateway to link the waterfront to the downtown business district, improving access to the greater business district by converting Spring Street to two-way traffic, and even by augmenting a state-mandated sewer project with a recreational component, which upon completion will open up the Kilbrook Gorge as a unique and major destination and draw for the area. Even while taking on these and other major community improvements, the village's unallocated fund balance is projected to remain at strong levels, affording the village the opportunity to fund long-range projects at low rates of interest and will ensure its financial stability in the years ahead. These impressive results could not have been achieved without the solid support and guidance of the village board and the commitment to community of the department heads and village employees who help on a day-to-day basis to make this a better place for all. The 2015 tentative budget for the village of Ossining provides for an increase to tax levy of 1.4851%, which is below the permitted tax levy cap of 2.02% and translates to a 1.3% increase to real property taxes paid by residents and businesses for general services. This will be accompanied by an increase to the rate for water and sewer services of 6.89% in order to continue to fund major improvements within the system and to maintain the highest water quality to residents and businesses. Thank you.
On behalf of the board, Richard and Tom and Dale and everybody else who worked on this, we thank you for all of your hard work, which leads into one of our two most important priorities of the year. One of those priorities, as I've said over and over again, is to provide our prime responsibility is to provide safety and security for everybody in the village, the residents, the merchants, and the first responders. But we can only get there by performing our most important function, which is to develop priorities, and by doing so to determine the budget annually. This is not an easy task, and anyone who's been following the life of the boards all these years knows that we take it very seriously. We go through this line by line and over and over and over again to determine that what we're doing is what we believe to be the best thing for the village. So thank you very much. I think we start on Friday tearing this apart and putting it back together again. It's interesting that you give us a budget that is actually below the cap, and perhaps that provides us with a little bit of wiggle room. Perhaps it doesn't. Let us see. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
We move on to mayor's and trustees' announcements.
I want to begin this segment of the meeting this evening by congratulating Mayor-elect Garrity, Trustee-elect Herrera, who's somewhere out there, and Trustee Codman on his re-election. You've got your work cut out for you for the next couple of years, all of you. And we will adjourn the meeting this evening in honor, when we do adjourn it, in honor of Diane Carson, who was the retired administrative assistant to the Ossining Police Chief Joe Burton, who died on October 27th, and Joseph Carter, who was a veteran, a member of the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club, and an all-around, everybody knew him guy, who died at the age of 90 plus in late October. Madam Clerk.
Are there any
Anyone
other
else?
announcements?
Yes, thank you for that announcement and acknowledgement, and I'll just say thank you to the residents of the community who participated in Election Day yesterday, and if you came out to vote, whoever you supported, I think that's terrific, and if you didn't participate but could have, I hope that that won't stop you from coming to our meetings and reaching out and continuing to help us all do the very best we can on behalf of the community. And I will also remind everyone that on next Thursday, November 13th, 6:30, please join us at the Ossining Public Library. The film that we're showing this month for the Ossining Documentary and Discussion Series is something that the subject matter is very close to home. It's called University of Sing Sing, and it's about a program that started right here at Sing Sing to provide a college education for several of the inmates, and it's been an incredible success in transforming the lives of the folks who've been able to participate in the project, particularly when they leave the prison system and are able to restart their lives with an incredible skill set that leads to a brighter future for all of us, and very low recidivism. So I hope you'll join us next week, Thursday the 13th, at the Ossining Public Library at 6:30.
Are there any other announcements?
Go ahead.
Okay, we will move on to administrative reports. Corporation Counsel Lori Lee Dixon.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening.
I wanted to touch upon a few items on your agenda this evening, just to remind our public, viewing public, and the public in the audience about the topics. You'll see the certiorari payment is letter H. This was a settlement that the town had negotiated on our behalf. You'll see the itemization in Schedule A specific to the refund of taxes paid for this is the CVS facility that is in the Arcadian Shopping Center area. Item I is a call for public hearing. This is introductory local law number 6. It is a change, an amendment to Chapter 68 entitled Alcoholic Beverages. This is locally known as the Open Container Law, and this was based on a request by your public relations officer. He had indicated that he was hoping to tighten up some language, so based upon his suggestion, I did some research, and we came up with language that was acceptable to the police department, and we hope this will make things easier for enforcement of this particular open beverage container law. Item J has to do with an IMA agreement. This is a standard agreement. This is just a renewal of a 3-year agreement. This permits Westchester County a participation in the Westchester County recycling program. This separates the organic yard waste from the stream that goes to the standard landfill. It's my understanding that this program, what it does is it separates the organic waste, and then the county hires a contractor to turn that waste into mulch, which is then reused by commercial entities and individuals for purchase. Item K is a budget modification. It modifies the tennis court lights program. This had to do with an upgrade necessitated by Con Edison. Item L is the New York State Snow and Ice Agreement. Again, this is a standard agreement. This sets forth the reimbursement fee for the year, the winter season as it's upcoming. Resolution M calls for a public hearing on planned waterfront special permit application for the Hudson Step project, which is a project that is just down the street, and this is coming back from the planning board after a lengthy review. The finding statement is available on the seeker process. I want to remind the members of the public that all the secret documents related to this project are available on the planning board webpage on the village's website. So if you are interested at all in reviewing the secret documents, I would suggest that you go to the planning board webpage. There are links there to all these documents, including the final finding statement, which is now coming back to you. Sure. I actually, when you open it up for discussion on your resolutions, the village planner is here to bring you up to date in terms of the project and also where the process is and why it's coming back to you.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Police Chief Joseph Burke.
Good evening. Excuse me. I think the board is well aware, and some of the public is well aware, that we had a homicide in August. And last week we culminated the investigation with the arrest of 2 people for it. One thing that's not brought out in black and white pieces of paper is just the hard work and dedication of the Detective Division under the guidance of Detective Lieutenant Sullivan. Bill and his crew, because it took all of them, were the ones. And even though the arrest and a lot of things were done with the federal government, it all started in this building. After developing leads that took them into Jersey, just the jurisdictions and everything else that would go with it, when you started crossing state lines, we needed search warrants in New Jersey, we needed stuff here. So Sully solicited the help of an FBI agent that used to live in Ossining. His father still lives in Ossining, who was a special agent. And with their going back and forth and then hitting the federal courts for search warrants and going in and gaining a lot of information, a lot of it was developed and going into New Jersey and the police departments. They executed a couple search warrants. And 2 of the search warrants, New Jersey was very happy with us because we took and turned over to them 500 packets of heroin in the first one, and just a little bit shy of 500 in the second one because they didn't quite flush the toilet fast enough. So with that, it's there. It was a lot of work with the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, but mostly it was done out of this building, and it was a lot of work, and they should be. Everybody should be very proud of it. It was a homicide that was closed in less than 3 months. So I congratulate all of them on the wonderful work they did. Now on the lighter side. On Sunday, New York City Marathon, we had Lieutenant Kevin Sylvester completed the marathon, and he did a little bit over 5 hours, Scott? Just about 5 hours. He would have been in the 4 hours, but he stopped on the 25th mile to stand up and take pictures with his family, and he lost a little bit of time with that. So that we congratulate Kevin on completing that. I remember listening to a professional marathoner, and he said, I run the marathon in 2 hours. I can't run for 5 hours. I give them a lot of credit for running 5. And then on the other thing, remember the game that we used to play of bowling that seemed like it got out of dated? Well, Vinny DeLeo hit the perfect. He hit a bowl to 300 last week also. So we congratulate him on, that, and Kevin on his running. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you. The solving of this murder is quite an extraordinary thing. The murder was a painful experience for the village of Ossining, and the solving of it, to some people, felt like a very long time because there was no news to provide. But because there was no news to provide, it was a very short time that this got solved, and we have to thank not only this department, which really did stellar work, but also 2 departments in New Jersey, the FBI offices in Newark and in White Plains.
White Plains.
So this is the sort of cooperation that we enjoy from other departments, but they enjoy from us.
Yeah, I kept on asking him. I said, look, I know this guy that saved half of London. He blew up a lot of different things, killed a lot of people, and did it within 24 hours. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Guys, I'm amazed at Kevin running a marathon. I mean, that's 26 miles. Not for nothing. I'd be exhausted after a 26-mile cab ride around New York City. But it confuses me that they do this because the first person to do a marathon promptly dropped dead. One wonders why we commemorate that by recreating the experience. It's quite scary, really. But I'm very impressed with Kevin. I don't know if you know this, but the lieutenant, aside from being a full-time police officer, is a full-time law student, raising a family, and found time to train to do a marathon. The man never sleeps. He's extraordinary. Give him my best.
Remember that Ginger Rogers did it backwards and in heels.
But not for 26 miles, Bill.
No.
We'll move on to organizational announcements. Is there anyone here that would like to make an organizational announcement? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to village board resolutions. Would anybody like to address any of the resolutions? I knew she was here. I see her.
Evening.
Evening, Valerie.
I'm here to address Resolution M, which is calling for a public hearing on the planned waterfront special permit application for Hudson Step. I just wanted to take a few moments just to reflect upon this particular application. Basically, this particular property has stood vacant for over 10 years. In 2005 and 2007, various components of this this property did receive approvals from the planning board. However, neither one of those particular projects ever moved forward. The current property owner took over the property ownership back in 2009, and that's when they started their current process. The village board passed a resolution on the special permit recommendation in 2010. This particular special permit recommendation really deals with the planned waterfront districts where if you have 3 acres or more, you can fall within the special permit, which affords the planning board to issue density bonuses and the density bonus program. The project has had its starts and stops, especially during the recession, and in the last year and a half or so, they have been pretty much moving full speed ahead. The project has completed its seeker process, which is also another reason why it has taken a while before a recommendation has come back to this board from the planning board. But since that time, the project has received its local waterfront revitalization revitalization plan recommendation from the Environmental Advisory Council, and the project has received a positive recommendation for special permit from the planning board. So this project is ready for its final approvals, which is why it's coming forth to this board now. They will be back in front of the Historic Preservation Commission next Monday. They'll be at the ZBA in November as well, and then they're hoping to conclude everything sometime in December between the planning board and the village board. And I just wanted to make a note that this particular project, it does have 188 units associated with it, along with 7,500 square feet of new office space, which would be, the idea is that it would be rented to some of the residents, and therefore it would also increase some street traffic as well as people living in the downtown area. And for those who are not aware of where this is located, it's actually located at the end of, pretty much on the intersection between Broad and State Street. And so, you know, I think the planning board, as well as myself, believe that this particular area of the village is an area that definitely does need some additional revitalization. And it would be nice to see this particular site redeveloped. It's also proposing to have green buildings associated with it, historic preservation of the Smith Robinson House. They're proposing to have affordable housing. They're also proposing to do some water main infrastructure work as well as stormwater infrastructure work associated with the project. What? Yeah, the green buildings, yes.
Yeah, I had just one question.
Sure.
You mentioned the density bonuses.
Yes.
So what are some of the things you talked about kind of part of the bonus structure?
That's correct. Those are all identified as density bonuses that the planning board would be providing the applicant.
Okay.
The applicant will be back before this board at the November 12th work session to answer any additional detailed questions on the application.
This is a very good place for us to be at this point. This is a project, I was in the first meeting with the original developers and then with this developer. This project is going to bring people with disposable income into downtown. And when that happens, you're going to see an increase in commercial development in downtown to service the people who live there and everyone else in the village, and perhaps even as do certain of our other stores will be servicing people from outside of the village. So that's very, very good. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Does anyone else like to address the? Hi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bruce Lozito. I'm representing Ossining Land LLC, the applicant of the project that Valerie just described. It's nice to see you all again.
Nice to see you, Bruce.
It's been about a year, actually, since I think we made a presentation to you, and we presented at that time what we felt was the new and improved plan for 34 State Street. And we spent the last year working very closely with the staff, with the Historic Preservation Commission and the Planning Board, essentially refining that plan. So the plan you'll recognize when we meet on November 12th. I'll be glad to go over all of the refinements that were made, many of which focused on the details of the restoration of the Smith Robinson House, the off-site improvements that we would be required to undertake to earn the density bonus, and also specifying the green building methodologies that would equal 60 lead points, which would be a gold rating for the project. So the planning board held our feet to the fire to be very specific about these things. It's enumerated in the findings that were adopted, and we were very pleased that the planning board did take action at their meeting on the 28th to adopt those findings and recommend that your board grant the special permit. We look forward to meeting with you next week to discuss it more.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Resolve the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the October 5th, 2014 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
It's the 15th, is it?
Yeah, October 15th.
Okay.
So move.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the October 22nd, 2014 special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated November 5th, 2014 in the amount of $838,390.41. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that upon the recommendation of the fire chief, Gina Fernandez of Ossining, New York, was elected an active member of Cataract Hose Company Number 2 for interior firefighting at their regular meeting. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Board? Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that upon the recommendation of the fire chief, Carlos Garcia of Ossining, New York, was elected an active member of Ossining Steamer Company Number 1 for interior firefighting at their regular meeting. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the following capital project is established to account for a public-private partnership grant in the amount of $480,000 administered by the New York State Environmental Protection Fund for the Harbor Square Promenade Park as follows. Increased capital project appropriation, account number 505-8020, 2153, Harbor Square Promenade Park, 2014, $480,000. Increased capital project estimated revenues, account number 505-0505, 3997, 0153, other state aid, home and community services, Harbor Square Promenade Park, $480,000. Project number 2153, Harbor Square Promenade Park, 2014, $480,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Valerie, would you come up and talk just briefly, remind the people who are watching this about the closing of the temporary park and of what's going to happen with this grant?
Right, well, actually, I'll be also back on November 12th with Harbor Square. They're actually going to be presenting the park plans to the village board and all of the details. We've had a couple meetings with them, including with Henry Atterbury, and so I think this board will be pleased with what is presented. But basically, this is a grant where it's $480,000 the Harbor Square will be matching, and $480,000 will be contributed to from the state, and it will include all of the upgrades to the parks, including playgrounds, walkways, kiosks, and all the landscaping. The park right now it's temporarily, or part of it is temporarily closed, or will be closed, because of the fact that they're actually doing some infrastructure work that's related to the development, and then we'll be starting very shortly into the actual construction of the park. On the November 12th, we're hoping that the village board will give a blessing to the plan, at which point we will submit both the draft contract between the Village of Ossining and Harbor Square to the state, along with the draft plans, get their okay to start moving forward with the construction of the park.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. Valerie, do me a favor. Is there any way that we can get like a PDF of the proposed park for our meeting on next?
They're going to present it to you by PowerPoint electronically, and we're hoping to have PDFs available.
Before our meeting, though?
Yes, before
Okay,
the
great.
meeting. We actually met last week, and there's some minor tweaks that they were just making adjustments to the plan itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Building seems to be moving along. Huge crane, developing huge pieces of steel. Very nice.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the Village of Ossining ceased being a tax assessing unit in 1989 and now adopts the Town of Ossining assessment roll for the Village of Ossining as prepared by the assessor of the Town of Ossining for all subsequent years, and where certain tax certiorari proceedings were instituted against the Town of Ossining by CVS Albany LLC to review the assessment against petitioner's property situated at 210 South Highland Avenue in the Village of Ossining and designated as Section 97.15, Block 3, Lot 13, which said proceedings were recently concluded in the Westchester County Supreme Court under index numbers 218-7309, 235-6110, 143-9311, 654-7912, and 653-9713. And whereas a judgment entered in favor of the petitioner, among other things, directs the Village of Ossining to audit and pay to the petitioner the amount of overpayment of real estate taxes determined in accordance with the assessments fixed and determined by said judgment, in the total amount of $25,238.24, as fully detailed in Schedule A. Whereas any and all refunds of taxes necessitated by said judgment are to be made without interest if paid within 60 days after service upon the village of a certified copy of said judgment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, upon certification by the village treasurer that all of the aforesaid taxes have been paid, hereby authorizes and directs the village treasurer to make the payment of such refunds of real property taxes due to petitioner Koppel, Martone, and Listman, LLP, as attorneys, and is further resolved that the village treasurer shall make a notation in the margin of the assessment rolls of the Village of Ossining that said assessments were reduced and payment of refund of the overpayment of real property taxes was made pursuant to said judgment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street in Ossining on November 19th, 2014, at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard, to consider the matter of introductory local law number 6, 2014, entitled Amendment to Chapter 68, Alcoholic Beverages. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Board? Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the village maintains a transfer station for organic yard waste at 30 Water Street, which is duly registered with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation as number 60R24, and whereas the village has been a participant as a district member by intermunicipal agreement in the County of Westchester's Organic Yard Waste Management Program designed to divert recyclable materials from the waste stream, and said IMA is now set to expire. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby authorizes the village manager to enter into an extension of an IMA with Westchester County for a renewal term to expire March 31st, 2018, concerning the use of the village's organic yard waste transfer site at 30 Water Street, such agreement being subject to review and approval by the Corporation Council. Do I have a motion?
Second.
The board? Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas by resolution of the Board of Trustees on June 6, 2014, the village established a capital project budget in the amount of $26,984 for electrical upgrades to the tennis court lights at Nelson Park, and to authorize project financing with a transfer from the recreation fees from developers in lieu of Parkland Special Purpose Trust Fund in the amount of $14,984, and from donations received in the amount of $12,000. And whereas additional project costs were incurred in the amount of $1,743.85 for necessary repairs needed to the service pole in connection with the electrical upgrades. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes the additional transfer of $1,743.85 from the recreation fees from developers in lieu of Parkland's Special Purpose Trust Fund for this purpose. And be it further resolved, the budgets for the Special Purpose Trust Fund and the park's tennis court lights electrical upgrades capital project budgets are modified as follows. Decrease Special Purpose Trust Fund, account number 014-0014-0905, recreation fees from developers in lieu of Parklands, $1,743.85, to finance capital project 505-7110-2152, Nelson Park Tennis Court Lights, electric upgrades 2014 capital project. Increase Special Purpose Trust Fund appropriation, account number 014-9550-0850-0003, transfer to capital projects funds from recreation fees from developers in lieu of Parklands, $1,743.85. Increase capital projects appropriation, account number 2152, Nelson Park Tennis Court Lights Electrical Upgrades, 2014, $1,743.85. Increase Capital Projects Fund estimated revenues, account number 505-0505-5030-0152. Interfund transfer from Special Purpose Fund, Tennis Court Lights Electric Upgrades, $1,743.85. Project number 2152, Nelson Park Tennis Court Lights Electric Upgrades 2014 Capital Project. Original budget $26,984. Modified project $28,727.85. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the village manager is hereby authorized to execute Amendment B to the 2013-14 Indexed Lump Sum Snow and Ice Agreement with New York State, contract number D009784, to increase total state reimbursement to the village for the 2013-14 winter season from the original estimate of $22,464 to $49,780.22. Said increase of $27,316.22 to be included in the state's fourth and final payment to the village under the 2013-14 agreement. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the Osting Land LLC submitted an application to the village requesting a planned waterfront special permit in accordance with section 270-23I of the zoning law of the Village of Osting in connection with its property located at section 97.07, block 2, lot 17, 19, 21, and 68. Whereas the Village Board of Trustees referred such applications to the Planning Board on May 18, 2010. Whereas this project has completed its secret process on October 28, 2014, whereas the Planning Board has issued a positive recommendation for the Village Board to issue the planned waterfront special permit on October 28, 2014. Therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street in Ossing on November 19, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard, to consider the matter of planned waterfront special permit for Hudson Step. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the board?
Yes. In the interest of full disclosure, my property abuts this project. And therefore, because I have business with these folks, I have to courteously abstain from voting because it would be inappropriate for me to vote on this or to publicly comment about it. That is not to say that I don't approve the project. This is not a negative aspiration in any way on this project, but due to the fact that I'm a village trustee and my property abuts Hudson Steps project, I can't participate.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain courteously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. See you next week.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossing hereby calls for a public hearing in the matter of the 2015 tentative budget to be held on Wednesday, November 19th, 2014 at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have any continuing business of the board?
No, ma'am.
Do we have any new business of the board?
No, ma'am.
Might we then entertain a recess unless someone would like to address the board?
Not necessary.
Okay, then might I have a motion for adjournment to executive session for personnel in memory of Diane Carson and Joe Carter?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can we have a moment of silence? This ends the televised portion of this evening's agenda. We will see you next Wednesday evening at 16 Croton Avenue at 7:30 for a work session. Have a good week.